Welcome to Culture, Worldview, and Origins. We're Tim and Holly Nyquist. This series is on critical thinking skills in science. We're on Chapter 13, Kuhn, Critical Thinking, Session number 3. In Session number 3, we're in Chapter number 3. Chapter 3 is the nature of normal science. Now, normal science is the normal way of doing science. In other words, it's the accepted paradigm of that time period. And from that paradigm, then, normal science is limited to or governed by that existing paradigm. Paradigms gain their status because they are more successful than their competitors in solving a few problems that the group of practitioners has come to recognize as acute. To be more successful is not, however, to be either completely successful with a single problem or notably successful with any large problem. Okay, so there's a new paradigm, and it's been assumed, and it becomes normal science. And what is that? It gains its status because they are more successful than their competitors in solving an acute problem. And it may not solve it completely, and it may leave other problems unsolved, but that is what attracts scientists to that paradigm. It leaves something for them to be able to do. He says, normal scientific research is directed to the articulation of those phenomena and theories that the paradigm already supplies. Okay, again, so it's not a confusion. If you join this group, this community, then you have to practice it according to the paradigm that is accepted by consensus of that group. So normal science, scientific research is directed to the articulation then of those theories that the paradigm supplies. The areas investigated by normal science are, of course, minuscule. The enterprise now under discussion has drastically reduced vision. Okay, so he's kind of incorporating here qualities that would be worldview. He's talking about vision. So the vision of the scientist or the practicing field is drastically narrowed from when we had the many participants or the many different ideas out there. We're now down to one paradigm, and that paradigm will drastically reduce the vision of those that practice it. That attempt to demonstrate agreement is a second type of normal experimental work, and it is even more obviously dependent than the first upon a paradigm. The existence of the paradigm sets the problem to be solved. Often the paradigm theory is implicated directly in the design of an apparatus able to solve the problem. So the paradigm is very important. The paradigm is the center, and you practice according to what that paradigm dictates. We're talking about, again, the nature of normal science. What is the nature of normal science? It is restricted. The view is dramatically reduced. It is paradigm led. It is paradigm controlled. A third class of experiments and observations exhausts, I think, the fact-gathering activities of normal science. It consists of empirical work undertaken to articulate the paradigm theory, resolving some of its residual ambiguities and permitting the resolution of problems. So what's the paradigm do? The paradigm gives the empirical work. It limits or it defines what is the empirical work to be done. It then articulates the theory within the paradigm and how it is to resolve some of its residual ambiguities, and it permits the resolution of the problem. But the resolution has to be by what's been permitted. The resolution, the answer, has to be within the boundaries of the paradigm, and that is controlled by that theory at that time. Turn now to the theoretical problems of normal science, which fall into very nearly the same classes as the experimental and observational. A part of normal theoretical work, though only a small part, consists simply in the use of existing theory, of using the existing theory to predict factual information of intrinsic value, future. So predicting what it should do, what should the experiment produce. So in other words, it's based on the paradigm. So what is normal science? The nature of normal science? It is science that follows the paradigm, and it stays within the boundaries of what that paradigm allows. They were working both with fact and with theory. And their work produced not simply new information, but a more precise paradigm obtained by the elimination of ambiguities that the original from which they worked had retained. In many sciences, most normal work is of this sort. And so, in other words, the work of the scientist within the paradigm is to reduce ambiguities, is to reduce doubt, is to define things to a clearer point. What is the nature of normal science? Work under the paradigm can be conducted in no other way. And to desert the paradigm is to cease practicing the science it defines. We shall shortly discover that such desertions do occur. They are the pivots about which scientific revolutions turn. Okay, so now we're defining what is normal science. And normal science goes down this normal road. But when you hit a bump in the road and there's something that's a new discovery, there's an anomaly or something that happens, then we deviate from, or we have choices to make. Either we set aside that anomaly and we wait for another time, or we take it on and we have to adjust the theory to accommodate that anomaly. And if we adjust the theory, then we're putting a bump in the road, because now we're suggesting a paradigm shift. And there are those that will desert the original paradigm to follow the shift. What does it say here? We shall shortly discover that such desertions do occur. They are the pivots about which scientific revolutions turn. Okay, we're finishing up on this chapter of what is normal science. Normal science follows a paradigm. Everybody that practices that science practices it according to the rules and theories within that paradigm. And if you see something that doesn't fit the paradigm, then you either leave it for later or you take it on. And if you take it on, it might then require an adjustment of theory. And if the theory has to be adjusted too much, then it ends up with abandoning that paradigm and deserting it to forming another paradigm. And then either you're on your own, or you have to attract enough other people to desert to this new paradigm that will then compete with the old one and install it as a new one. But normal science is the paradigm that everyone is on board with. We're on session 3. This is 13, chapter 13, Kuhn's critical thinking. We're Tim and Holly, and if you'd like to communicate with us, the addresses are on the board. Thanks again for accompanying me.